Hello everyone! In this video, we will show you how to visualize the results of your multi-study or group GLM. Once you click Go, Satori displays a text file showing the detailed results of the multi-study GLM. The file may serve as a good sanity check regarding the interpretation of the data by Satori, so you should check that the subject IDs and predictors correspond to the loaded data. The text file can be saved via a button in the lower right corner. After closing the file, you can visualize the results on the topo layout by going to Analysis and clicking on Overlay Channel Maps. Just as with the results of the single study GLM, we want to visualize the contrast one by one, so let's go ahead and uncheck Contrast 2 for now. The results are immediately updated in the small channel representations of our layout. Just as for single study GLM, each channel window displays bar plots for contrasts that are significant in that channel. To get a better visualization, you can open a 3D view of the data by clicking the brain icon below the View menu. You can now view the measured activity projected on the cortical surface. You can freely translate and rotate the surface by holding down the left and right mouse buttons respectively. You can find more options for adapting the visualization by clicking on Tools and then 3D View. In the newly opened window, you can, for example, remove the layout, adapt the position of the surface mesh to canonical positions, or choose different surface labels. Once you have set your visualization parameters, you can close the 3D View tools and switch back to the Overlay Channel Maps dialog window. Here, you can now open the Statistics tab of the dialog. Here there is some useful information. For example, the currently selected threshold of the map, the number of degrees of freedom, and the type of map. Looking at the number of degrees of freedom, we can see a large degrees of freedom number. This is likely due to the fact that the elements of the analysis are still the time points, not the subjects. The degrees of freedom are based on the accumulation of time points for all the runs. So although the current analysis is already based on a separation of subjects, it is not yet a random effects analysis. To see the real random effects results for your study, you can click the Load button on the lower left side of the Contrast Maps dialog. You should find two recent CMP files representing both the result of the separate subjects GLM by just estimating different betas for each subject, condition, and channel, but not comparing them yet, as well as the result of the random effects GLM. Let's load the random effects contrast map. When clicking through the different contrast results, one can find only sparse results in comparison to the previous map, which is expected due to the difference in the two approaches. Now, we are actually looking for consistent effects in the different subjects of the sample, and thus have a lower chance of finding a significant result. To check the data in more detail, you can open the Statistics tab again. And first, you can see that the number of degrees of freedom has dropped. The number of degrees of freedom is now based on the number of subjects instead of the number of time points, which confirms that you are now seeing the results of the random effects analysis. You can also see that the values in the confidence range field are grayed out. To enable a manual variation of the threshold, you can click the Set Threshold Manually button. Now you can actually set your own values in the confidence range field. Going back to the Browse tab, you can make sure that only a single map is selected. You can then immediately enter a new threshold value directly on the Browse tab too. You can then change the original value and click the Update button to make sure the new value is applied to the map. You can see that by using a more liberal threshold, significant activation at the second level can be detected. You can then repeat the method for the other two available contrasts. Checking the specific time course of the significant regions, you can inspect the channel time course and create an event-related average of the data within the channel. Please note that the results we are checking right now probably contain false positives because we are not correcting for the multiple comparisons problem. To take the multiple comparison problem into account, you must use one of the statistically advised approaches, such as the false discovery rate or FDR. Only after using one of these approaches can the data be properly scientifically reported. Finally, you can take screenshots of the 3D view or topo plot by clicking on Export, and then Screenshots, and then clicking on the view you wish to save. That's all for Group GLM. See you in the next video.